Okay, we're starting grammar session number 2 today, and we're talking about adverbs. Most of you know adverbs as words that end in ly. That's not 100% accurate because there are some words I think I've mentioned before that also end in ly, like lovely, that can actually be adjectives. But adverbs, by definition, they're words that modify verbs. They modify adjectives, and they sometimes modify other adverbs as well. And we'll see that in action here in a minute. One thing that you got to recognize about adverbs to help you out a little bit are the questions they answer. So just like adjectives where we had which one, what kind, and how many, now we have a new set of questions. First of all, how or in what manner? Okay, so if we look at the sentence here, Joey stomped loudly. Loudly is our adverb, and it tells you how or in what manner Joey stomped. Okay, the next one says when or how often. Okay, so he usually cheats. Usually, how often does he cheat? Usually, pretty often, right? Next one is where. Okay, so we went there together. Here's an example of an adverb telling you where they went. Okay, and the last one is to what extent. We totally killed that performance. Okay, to what extent did you kill it? You totally did. Okay, so those are a new set of questions that can be answered by adverbs. Oddly enough, adverbs are words that can actually be moved around in the sentence to make sense in different places. So look at the example of usually here. You could say he usually cheats. You could say usually, comma, he cheats. Or you could also say he cheats usually. So that's another test if you're not sure of where or what kind of part of speech you're dealing with. If it's an adverb, you can move it around in the sentence and it'll still make the same amount of sense. Okay? Let's look at this first example here. Okay? We have oddly, the dog meowed sarcastically. Okay? So in this one, step 1, we're going to keep the same number of steps. Step 1 is to make your T, which I've already done. Step 2 is to find the verb. Okay? And here we have the verb being meowed. That's the action that's taking place. Okay? Then you ask yourself who or what meowed, and that would be the dog. Okay? We talked before about how all articles are adjectives. So which dog? The dog. Okay, so our step 4 is everything else is going to be some type of modifier. We know that already. And we have 2 ly words, so that's a hint that they're probably adverbs. And in this case, they really are. Okay, so what we have here are 2 adverbs that tell us how the dog meowed. Okay, so in what manner? Oddly and sarcastically, they both fit there. And if we go back here, we got our subject, we also got our predicate. Okay, so that's classification and diagramming right there. Let's try this one on your own. Go ahead and pause the video now, see if you can accomplish it here. Okay, hopefully you've paused it and you've tried it on your own first. Okay, but if not, we're going to go ahead, and here's a tricky one. He Snapchats. So what is the verb in this case? Snapchats. I'm not sure if that's a real word or not. I'm going to go ahead and guess probably not, but in colloquial teen talk, it is. So Snapchats. Who Snapchats? He does. He is our subject here. You might have gotten tricked by this one. Remember, he is a pronoun. It takes the place of a noun. It's not actually a noun. Okay, and this is our predicate. Okay, now, regularly tells us how often or when he Snapchats. So that's going to be our main modifier here. Hopefully you didn't get tricked by this one. This is also an adverb, very, and it's also a modifier. But what you got to ask yourself is, what word does it modify? It modifies, it tells us how regularly he Snapchats. It doesn't tell us how he Snapchats. So what we do on this one, it's a little bit tricky. You're going to break it off right there and show how it modifies that word regularly. Okay, so a little bit tricky, something I could throw at you, but that's an adverb modifying another adverb. Okay, if we have an adverb modifying an adjective, we do the same thing over here and do something like that, if we had that case. Okay, let's go on to the next one, last one. Try to pause the video and see if you can do this one on your own right now. And there's a reason that the T is formed in this kind of way. Okay, go ahead and give you a chance to attempt that one right now. Okay, so hopefully you're back with me, and I'm going to show you how we do this one. It's a little bit different here. What we do is we kind of make it look like, I don't know why, but I like to call it a rocket ship shape here. Do something like this. And the proper way to do it is to have this dotted line right here. Because really what we have is a compound subject, okay? So if we look at this, we actually have a two-word verb, future tense, will, win. Apologize for my terrible handwriting. Okay, now, who or what will win? Jason will win, and I will win. And what we do with the and, we kind of write it sideways right in here. Jason and I will win. Okay, Jason is a noun. Guess I probably should have done that underneath here. Verb, verb. Remember, I is a pronoun. The part of speech and, if you remember, that's a conjunction. So we're going to put con underneath there. Okay, now let's look at what part of speech we have for easily and tonight. Okay, easily and tonight are actually both adverbs. One is going to tell you how we will win. The other one is going to tell you when we will win, if that's not confusing. Okay, so you have all of our parts of speech there. We have subject, like I said, it's a compound subject, so we have two subjects. We've got our predicate there. And let's see, conjunction, its function is also just the same. It functions as a conjunction. And then we have our two modifiers right here. Okay? And again, go ahead and bring in any questions you might have on this one tomorrow, or any of them, and we'll try to get those taken care of. Okay? Let's move on here. The harder parts is writing and diagramming your own sentence. Okay, so see if you can do one with a noun, a verb, an adjective, and an adverb. And I'll give you a hint here. The diagram on this one is going to look something like this. Go ahead and pause the video now if you don't think you need the help. Okay, this is going to be a fairly simple sentence. It should be only 4 words. Oops. 4 words and nothing more, nothing less. That is the challenge. And remember, that's how you show me you know exactly what I'm talking about, is to write nothing more than what I'm asking for. Okay, here's an example. The man jogged slowly. And when we diagram that, it's going to look something like this, right? The man jogged. That looks like jugged. Should be jogged slowly. Okay. And there's all kinds of different examples you could use. 10 cats hid slowly. 10 or 8 guys spoke quietly. Anything like that. But that's one example. Let's try this last one. Write and diagram a sentence using a pronoun, a verb, and 2 adverbs. And the typical diagram, and again that's 4 words, the typical diagram is going to look something like this. Remember, pronouns are words that replace nouns. They shorten them usually. Go ahead and pause the video and give that an attempt. Okay, so building off of our first sentence, we might say something like, he suddenly ran quickly, or something to that effect. Or we have he as our pronoun, replacing the man. And we have suddenly and quickly telling us how he ran. Okay, so that's a pretty typical example. Again, bring in your questions on these tomorrow, and I'll tell you if they fit the profile or not. And it doesn't specify here, notice that the adverbs have to add to the verb. They could also modify another adverb. They could modify, they can't modify an adjective in this case because it doesn't ask for an adjective. But remember, you also have the option to do something like this where you're going off of quickly. Okay, he ran very quickly, something like that. Okay, so those are the examples. Those are the things we're going to be doing in class. Bring in your notes. Remember to show me those and prove that you've actually watched the video, and hopefully get credit for that assignment early and get it out of the way and maybe help some of the other students along the way. All right, have a good night.